morning, Tartaria, Australia. This is like really early morning. Like I don't even know if it's past 6 o'clock yet. 7 o'clock.
7, it's about 2 minutes to 7 at the moment.
We thought we'd just like grab the morning sunshine because yeah, we've started this. Well, we're attempting to start this new protocol of sun gazing in the morning. It's getting
Yeah,
up to seeing the sun rise and watching the sun set. It's part of the new light diet, Campbell.
light diet. Yeah,
The new
man.
light, the next level of the carnivore is the light diet.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that. How you going, buddy? Down there
Good,
in the
good. Yeah,
yes.
man. Up early. Just watching the world, man. The world's going crazy.
Yeah,
which
I
is which
mean,
is something to say given the last 3 years, but it's really, yeah, man. They're moving people around is what I'm saying is, when we look into history, we have all these stories and that, but the way it looks to me, like at resets, they shift whole populations, like to the point where, Japan may have been white people and India may have been black, like literally the whole cultures, people just get shifted. And that's
yeah,
what it looks like they're trying to do at the moment.
yeah.
Everyone's heard of America and the border and that. New York's getting flooded and it's happening in all these other places. Just read a report
Wait. What
that
do you
said,
mean New York's getting flooded?
so New York is that their mayor is like one of these woke people, and he stood up and said, "We're a sanctuary city. Send all your people here. We'll look after them. We'll take everyone. We love everyone." And then he came out last week going, "No, we don't want them.
Yeah,
Stop,
right.
stop, stop."
So
Because
what? So what? There's been a big influx in New
yep,
York.
yep, saying about 10,000 people. I think it's a day are hitting New York. And of course, New York for the last couple of years has been going downhill fast. There's not enough work for people. There's homeless people everywhere, massive drug problems, and all these immigrants are just flooding in.
Mm.
Article saying that Venezuela emptied all its prisons and sent everyone to the US border. They just let them all out of prison, said, "Go away, go and live in America." And so this is the kind of people they're getting in. It's not good, hardworking people who are just trying to get a break. These are all criminals. And this is another one of the attacks on America. Like, it's this multi-pronged attack. And people still in America don't seem to realize that it's now a communist country. Like, the government is communist. It's just full communism. But people aren't. I mean, and it's a big thing, right? They don't want to say that, but it's just that's what it is, man. It's full communism. They're moving all the people in to destabilize the country, sending all the money out to that new country to launder, so that when it all collapses, all the people on the top take all the money, right? Um, and so it's just crazy. And then I just read that there's an island, I can't remember the name, in Italy, and it's got about 6,000 residents. And in the last 24 hours, around 20,000 immigrants have turned up on this island. And so now the locals are outnumbered 3 to 1,
Yeah,
and they don't.
right.
So it's just crazy, man.
And it's so tough because like I mean, we
Yeah.
want to just think these are just human beings caught in a shitty fucking situation. They're like trying to survive,
Mm,
like in which any of us would do in those circumstances, coming out of sort of environments
yeah.
where like so many, cruel and inhumane things happen all the time. Like it's a
Mm.
tough call. So they're like
It,
deliberately, you're saying they're deliberately moving people around the realm at the moment en masse
en masse. Yep.
under the guise of immigration.
Yeah, and under the guise of, come on, let's help everyone, because everyone does. Like you say, everyone wants to help other people, especially people that are, doing it hard. That's what we want to do. But it's also their biggest, one of their biggest tools is to use our emotions against us. They do this, right? They know we're good people at heart. And so they say, "Oh, you're just going to be helping them." And then that they're sending the criminals in. They're sending in the child, you know,
Mm.
traffickers, can I say that with
Uh,
a big break? All these different things are happening. And so it's not actually, the people who are out on the farms trying to live and trying to get a better life, they're not actually getting to the border. Because you think about it, these are third world countries. How are they going to get to the border of America if they're in another country? What, just walk for a couple of months with no food?
yeah.
These people are somehow getting to a distance close enough that they can then walk to America like in a couple of days. So it's not this organic thing. Like people are being shipped into Mexico and they're like, go that way.
Yep. Yep.
So
What's it all be, Campbell? What's it all be?
they're pushing the reset. Like I don't. What it looks like is this isn't a natural earth changing reset. It's not like obviously volcanoes and stuff like this, but these whatever we want to call them people are trying to create a reset, an inorganic reset, like we know, right? I mean, Santa Klaus Schwab, he's been saying it for years, right? The Great Reset.
Yeah.
And they put all these things in, and they're literally trying to do a reset, change everything so that they end up at the top. But it's false. It's not an actual natural Earth reset like one of these cycles that we see, in history.
Yep.
They're literally jumping in and trying to do their own. For whatever reason, I think they're just trying to get on the top of the heap before the actual reset comes. But they're moving, man. I mean, it's just amazing to see what's going on. This has been planned for decades, man,
Yeah.
decades, and now it's all being put into place.
And before anyone asks,
So,
Campbell, I would just like to say that we are definitely a no vote for what's going on in Australia with our Indigenous.
yes,
Just saying
Australia,
that, putting that out. It's
another
quite
scam,
amazing.
right?
I know. Yep.
Yeah,
And it's quite amazing
the
watching.
same thing.
Yep. Yep. And my channel's like, it's so bizarre because, I've got like half my channel's full of the, regen ag community, and like, yeah, they're so like everyone, they're like, it's so frustrating to watch because everyone who's voting yes feels in their heart genuinely like they're voting,
Yep.
to like in service. They're voting for the good, of our Indigenous here in Australia. So for
Yeah.
anyone who doesn't know, there's a proposed referendum here in Australia to basically basically to include our Indigenous into the Constitution, I guess.
Make
And
them citizens, basically,
yes,
which is going to strip them of all their tribal law, all their land rights, everything.
which is like perfect timing because we know that like right now, what's happening with our Indigenous here in Australia is like there's some really, what would you say, quite magical, destined, sovereign, you know, ancient energetic that's like working through this timeline right now to reposition our sovereigns as the true caretakers and original owners of Australia. And it's like, and of course, when the Queen died, it was a big deal because that was sort of like that was the moment. And Campbell and I have witnessed firsthand. We go to these, we go and talk to the elders, and we witness in those moments elders coming and going, and bringing documents and signing things and talking like they're alive with this timeline right now. They're like legally and intellectually and spiritually, they are alive and tapped into, what's happening. And yeah, I mean, so this vote basically puts the Indigenous sovereignty in under the government, so under the corporation. So, and like, like right now, say an elder can basically stand at his gate and say no to, say, police entering. Under Indigenous laws, they can reject the interference of corporation, government, and police and army, etc. If this vote goes through, and I guess like with the state of our realm, like a referendum doesn't mean anything. It just means a dummy media campaign. And if it's like planned to go through, it'll go through minus any votes. Voting is like a puppet show, right, as far as that stuff goes. But it basically would mean that at that point, if the yes vote goes through, then the elders can't stand. They have no right to stand there and reject the interference or the command or the orders of the government. So I mean, and basically it removes their claim to sovereignty. So it basically removes their sovereignty, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. It removes their sovereignty. And like you said, like most people won't look into this, and they'll just see the news, and they'll believe they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Like even you know, my sister works in council, you know, for the government, and she's in one of the jobs where she does, you know, converse with the originals that are in the government, and she believes that they're like the elders and they're standing
Yeah.
up, and what they're saying is what all the originals want, but they're not. They're
Yeah.
completely, they've been educated in you know,
Yeah.
the white man system, shall we
Yeah.
say, you know, all this, so that they don't know much about their own history, their own law, and they're basically getting paid well, they're getting looked after, and they push them up, and then these people are put out like this is the voice of the originals. But like Kelly said, we go and talk to the actual elders,
Yeah.
and it's the complete opposite story. And
Yeah.
they're getting ready. They're
Yeah.
doing so much work because they see it coming.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, then we have all the, you know, the news watchers thinking they're doing the right thing. They're all going to vote yes. Thanks, Johnny Farnham. Good on you, mate. Putting your song up there, you bloody shill.
Yeah, I
Bloody
know.
Johnny. He used to be a good guy, I thought.
Nah.
But I mean, who knows? Maybe he believes it too. Maybe he's a complete sellout. We don't know. But whatever it is, it's like this is how they use our emotions against us. They get everyone together and they're like, "Look, John Farnham, he's into it. He's a good guy. Look, here's a token Aboriginal person," and they
Yeah,
say
and
like it. Now, come on, let's do it.
and every major corporation, every major business, every major organization that's standing up for the yes vote here in Australia, they're all owned by BlackRock. Like
Yep.
they're all owned by the same agenda. Like it's,
Yep.
you know, it's quite fascinating. I mean, we're in a privileged position right now to be conscious enough to observe it, you know, to see this playing out in, you know, through our eyes. It's quite remarkable on that level, like to actually watch all of everything we've ever sort of deep dived into actually making manifest right now. But yeah, I mean, it's creating here in Australia. It's like, again, it's just another divisional tactic. And, you know, you're playing on like people's hearts. You're playing on people trying to attempt to do the right thing. And, you know, it just plays right into the game. So it's a bugger, but yeah, I mean, obviously we stand for sovereign law and the laws of the land and natural laws, and that does not involve the cooperation of the Australian government. That is for sure. And I can't
Yeah.
believe at this point, even those who are completely aligned with this being a great thing and like woke to that concept, like I cannot believe that they yet again decide to trust the government. That's the bit that catches me. Like I honestly think, you
Right.
know, you can fall into the emotional poetry of it. You can fall into the sentimental storyline. You could get like caught in that level of the campaign, but like, how many times are you going to sit there and trust your government is doing the right thing? That's what blows my mind. Like in my
It's
whole lifetime, in my whole
fine.
friggin' lifetime, I've never seen them do anything ever once in
No.
support of humanity, ever.
Oh,
So
of course. Never. No.
I find it amazing that people still have a level of like respect and governance there with the it just blows my mind. Yeah.
It, it's insane. Like there's literally people out there that would have lost businesses, you know, their jobs, income, all this stuff over the last 3 years, and they're out there voting for the government, listening to the government, going, but
I
this
know
time
it's
they're in it for us. I mean, how many times do you need to be slapped in the face?
I mean,
And this is why
especially,
they can keep
yeah,
going, right?
yeah,
They do it. They put it out there and they go, and we're doing this, and like more than half the population either say nothing or they go, okay,
yep,
and that's permission. So they go, all right, we're going forward then.
yep.
I
I
mean,
know.
it's insane. And just as a side note, with this, you know, the sovereignty thing, it's basically a land grab, right?
Yep.
Because they'll lose all their indigenous land rights.
Again,
Again, this
again.
is so it's in Australia, it's mining, man. Like
Yeah,
we've been talking to the originals, and that they're doing their best to try and stop, you know, all these mines leaking arsenic and stuff into the rivers and destroying the countryside and the
mm,
waterways and
mm,
putting all this work in.
mm.
And if this vote goes through, the mining company is just going to walk up and go get stuffed and do
Yep.
whatever they want and really start to destroy
Yeah,
this mass,
I know,
man.
I know. For those who aren't in Australia, essentially over the last, I guess, 20 years almost, but certainly the last 10 and like the last 5, you know, any sort of environmental or interference with, say, the mining companies from our Indigenous, they have standing. So they can basically go and form a line, if you like, on the land that's been proposed for mining, and actually like stand there without for the government to come in with the army, which they quite often do, or the police, and remove them. They're essentially like breaking Indigenous law. So at this point, they still have that sovereign footing to stand there and say, no, you cannot pass. You have no rights here. You cannot pass. So all of that will be eradicated, completely eradicated. They'll just be put straight into jail, like always. Even if this goes, I mean, like, you know, even if it goes forward, but do you think it's going to go forward? Like, why wouldn't it go forward if there's no voting anymore? Like, just take that out of the equation. That's a dummy concept. That's a mirage.
It's a mirage. Yeah, completely.
But I cannot imagine if it goes forward that that it will mean anything. Like, it's not going to prevent our Indigenous from being their sovereignty. It's not going to prevent. All it's going to create is more violence, more brutality and violence. Like, it basically, all of this stuff just gives the government a right to more violence against humanity.
More corporation, like I said, BlackRock, man, just more tentacles out, taking over more of the, you know, the earth, the world that we live in, and that's their ultimate goal, right? I mean, they've told us they don't want us to own anything. No house, no land, no car, nothing. They don't, you know, you'll have nothing and you'll be happy, right?
And Australia is important.
Very important. Yeah, like we're one of the, you know, I'm sure that, you know, Canada's probably got similar things with Indigenous, but because, like the story says, you know, the English turned up a couple of 100 years ago, there's still this big sovereign thing, and they've always had rights and land rights, and because they've had to do that, right? Because they've had to keep us, the population, on side. If they walked in and just, you know, destroyed everyone and were running around, you know, still doing, you know, their, you know, stolen children, all this kind of stuff, then people would start to see the government for what they are. But what they do, I mean, all voting is now is putting out an advertising campaign so that most of the population believe the result you're going to give them. That's all it is. They put out a big campaign saying, oh, of course, everyone's behind the yes vote. Oh, look at this. Yeah. Woo-hoo-hoo. And then when it comes in as yes, everyone's like, oh, well, of course, that's legit because I watched the news and they told me that. All right. So they don't question it.
It's crazy. But, you know, there you go. I mean, like when Campbell and I started the podcast, like we were looking obviously at the Crystal Cities, and that tied us into our first engagement with our elders. And I mean, like from that storyline, you know, the original law as an object was actually here in Australia. And it was actually, you know, handed over from here in Australia. And there's been like a lot of interesting stories we've come across there. Like, just to recap some of our very earlier podcasts on this topic, the idea was that, you know, they Captain Cook, whoever that was, and his army of non-convict soldiers turned up and here to do war against the original sovereigns, who, by the way, were reported to be full of magical powers and completely far more advanced in their ability to, you know, defend and protect something. And they came to do war, and the war was pretty brutal, and they were losing. And at some point, and this story hasn't yet come to full disclosure for us, but like at some point, the elder or the elders at the time decided to walk away. They decided to walk away from this timeline, and they basically handed it over and left. That was a story that we were getting from Evan and Stephen Strong, and in the beginning of our podcast from some of the elders. So even though we don't like really have the full story there, it was interesting because it was spoken about as if the law of the land was like actually had a physical container. There was some physical thing that was originally on the northern coast, so kind of around where we are here. and then potentially got moved into sort of the Uluru area. But that eventually it was just decided that the Indigenous would walk away, that the time was not now, that this war was not the war they were choosing to fight, and that the time would come around where it was in time with natural law, which is now.
Yeah.
So this big push to somehow subdue Indigenous sovereignty and the original owners of the law, or governors of the law, or holders of the law would probably be the better word, is really interesting timing, you know, because here we are. We're at that moment where the 200 years have passed, all the trauma and fuckery has happened, and now, you know, the time is to reclaim sovereignty. So it's an interesting storyline here in Australia with our Indigenous and how that's playing out now with this reset energy. I have absolute faith and confidence, Campbell, that what we're watching, what we're observing, just in the little ways we observe it, but, you know, in a broader scale, it's really fucking special. And there's something about it that is so so activated and so ready to you know, I don't know what, so ready to energize something. There's something that's going to happen that's big there, and it's going to topple the timeline of this agenda. And I really feel powerfully that it has a lot to do with Australia's original people, a lot to do with the original people. Of course, that's why now they're desperately trying to, you know, suppress, oppress, and remove all rights legally, because they don't have that right. They legally do not have, like you can take. And one of the things we've witnessed dealing with the elders is how many Supreme Court cases are going on right now from them to you know, reclaim their role in Australia and the custodianship of Australia. There are literally, so don't be dismayed, everyone, because honestly, there is something very magical afoot, something very supported and backed by this ancient law of the land that's running through, you know, countless Supreme Court cases, and not just here in Australia, but around the world, and countless Supreme Court cases in relation to Australia and the UK. Like, and when it gets to that level, you know, you're dependent on the law, and the law is in favor.
It feels just the energy at the moment is like there's something big coming, like a lot of people are almost waiting. I mean, myself, I've been God, trying to get work done. I got all these ideas, all this stuff, and I just can't. I've been so unproductive in the last week. I've been really tired for some reason, and it's like the universe is just going, just you know, it's okay, just relax a bit. Something we've got this. I don't know. It's a funny energy, but you know, it's like we see in, you know, every movie, right? Pretty much. You know, you think it's all lost, right? And everything's gone, and you think, oh, we've lost, you know, and then something happens, bang, and suddenly it all flips and we're back on top. And I think that's what's going to happen, but it's going to get to a point where it looks like everything's been lost, like we've got no chance, and then something will come out. But like I said, there's so much going on in the courts everywhere. And of course, none of this is being put out in the media. So no one, you know, the average Australian has no idea what's going on with this, right? But they'll watch the news and hear some, you know, paid shill tell them to vote yes. And they're like, oh, I'm informed. I know what's going on. Oh, yes, yes. Without giving it another thought as to why is this good? What does this mean? What's actually going on? They just don't. It's just, it's like
like
being in
it's
kindergarten, man.
it's fair to point out too that misinformation is ripe also in the awakened truth community as well. Like,
Oh
yeah, I mean,
yes.
it's everywhere. It's everywhere. So,
It's
but
yeah.
you know, when it comes down to it, this is a war on sovereignty. Like, that's just, and so when we're looking at sort of our sovereign original people around the world, like, this is their time. Like, the law of the earth will support them through this, and in doing so, us, you know, they are truly the custodians of change. They're truly the giants of change. So yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to watch it play out. But I agree, there's something coming, and that thing, you know, should be ultimately I mean, almost like unknown to us. Like, it's like an event that we have not experienced before. It seems to be the beginning and the end of something, or the end and the beginning of something. And it certainly is a fascinating thing to observe consciously right now on this realm. And whichever country you're in, the same energetic is occurring at some level, you know, somewhere. So fascinating stuff. And I can tell you what, like, I've participated now with several integrated Zoom calls, and they're going on all around the world now, where elders from all cultures are in communication for the first time. Like, that's cool shit, guys. Like, literally, they are entwining and wiring and firing their consciousness in a way that's never happened before. They're aligning, they're lining up and sinking in. And it's pretty amazing to watch Indigenous elders from around the realm be in conversations on these topics. It's a shame that
so I was just going to say, they represent the organic network, right? And they're literally the opposition to this closed, you know, electrical circuit that we're all trying to be forced into, right? All the black mirrors and stuff. But it's also a time that I think we're going to be, you know, tested again. There's going to be a big push, right? And we're going to have to stand up and stay with our morals and not be swayed, because, you know, it's going to be coming in thick and fast. They're going to be trying to change everyone's mind on everything. And you sent me a video yesterday, was it yesterday, about you know, what's been going on in the jabby jab stuff. And basically what it all came down to is nicotine. Like, there's stuff like different poisons in the jabby jab.
Venom.
And you know,
venom, to be specific. Venom. Animal venom. So predominantly predominantly snake, but also sea creature venom.
And snails and stuff.
Up to 40 different venoms, traces of 40 different venoms.
And snakes, interesting. What do we see on every medical symbol? A snake. And so what they've worked out is nicotine cures all. It literally will block all of these different poisons. And so now Biden in America is trying to ban certain cigarettes that have high nicotine. He's trying to ban like patches and all these nicotine products, right? Literally.
So
we heard it come out last year. We were just talking that I'm not sure what the guy's name was, but he came out saying he'd been testing the water and he'd found snake venom. Right. In the water, I think it was, wasn't it? And that nicotine would fix it. And it kind of blew up really quick. Everyone was like, whoa, man. Look. And then within a few days, that got locked down, man. Suddenly it was like it seemed like everyone was calling you an idiot if you believed it. Like, so fast, and everyone just kind of dropped it. That's exactly what's going to happen again now with a lot of the, you know, our ideas is they're going to really come in hard, because we know that these are bots, right? The internet is not, you know, it's filled with bots, man. They're not human. So we're going to get all this information and we're going to think, oh my God, everyone thinks this, but they don't. It's like two dudes in a room with the program trying to make you think that the majority think this way, but it's all illusion, guys. So I just want to say that's going to happen. So don't fall for it. None of it's real. It's all the false closed circuit. It's not organic. So don't fall for it. I mean, isn't it weird saying don't fall for it again? Like, literally, like where we are, what we've been through the last 3-4 years. And we still have to tell people, wake up, man.
Well, probably not our audience. Probably not the people watching this.
But exactly. Please share this video around if you know any people need a slap in the face.
Well, look. In summary of that, so it was, you know, I'm sure lots of you have already seen it, but like, fascinating concept. So in total summary, the pathogen that was, you know, the Rona and the, you know, those two things combined involved a lot of venom, and the venom actually attacks the receptors in your being, and as a result, like, they were seeing the onset of Parkinson's, brain tumors, obviously everything that's happening with the hearts and the blood clots, and it was, you know, very quick and very dramatic. And then they've, you know, understood, these alternative scientists and doctors, that actually nicotine blocks those receptors, which is really interesting, because it went on to say that within you know, if this whole thing had been planned for the last 20, 40 years, which it has, and they literally spent all this time in bio labs, like creating this, you know, this toxic bomb on the population, and like put it out, and then hadn't realized that tobacco nicotine actually like blocks the result, you know, blocks the health implications. So they'd be pretty fucking pissed off about that, right? That like they hadn't realized this. But you know, they started to look at it because of all the people that ended up, you know, in hospital, like something like less than 1% were smokers. And that was interesting, first thing to look at, because obviously it was a lot to do with the chest. And you'd think that the smokers would be the most vulnerable and the weakest, but in actual fact, so that's where the line of thinking was going. But, you know, I love this concept because it's like, you know, nicotine is a plant. It's a plant medicine, and it's been utilized throughout our whole known history and all throughout my past lives. I've always seen, you know, myself with pipes, or, you know, having counsel with amazing individuals smoking. It's been utilized so often as sacred medicine. And for it to be like the secret magical solution that they hadn't factored on, I mean, it's pretty fucking cool. And this is not saying that, you know, smoking, smoking is the solution, but certainly they were going on to suggest if you were in a situation that looked like, you know, they'd done something or released something new, or you're around a lot of people, that, you know, you should put on a nicotine patch, as that would be the preventative.
Yes, well, were you with me when who was it? We were talking to someone, I can't remember who it was, but they were literally saying to put nicotine patches in your first aid kit.
Yeah.
And they're like, if you get a snake bite, whack a nicotine patch on them. And this was before this new information came out. And I'm like, are you serious? They're like, yeah, man, yeah, it'll work. And clearly it does. And I've always wondered, you know, like, why is tobacco one of these, you know, sort of plants, you know, that they use for ceremony? Because it doesn't, you know, seem to give us many, you know, effects that we sort of can notice, right? It doesn't change our mental state or anything. And but maybe it's to stop parasites and entities coming in, because it's always smoked around council, right? When they're talking around fireplaces, when they're in discussion.
Yep.
So maybe it's some kind of protection.
Yes, that makes total sense. Like, and how cool is that? Like, in Australia, obviously, we have so many snakes. Like, it's pretty fucking radical to understand that, you know, if you get a snake bite, to put a nicotine patch on, and that would actually like prevent the poison from moving. I mean, fuck, that's fucking crazy. Like, that's so crazy and cool, right? So, you know, like, take this
so
advice,
cool.
because here in Australia, like, as this information, as the agenda pushes against it, we're going to see, and there has been this massive push, especially in America, but in Europe and soon in Australia, of actually removing the nicotine content from tobacco. So also in America, that they've legalized 200 new chemicals to use in cigarettes, right? And with a total reduction of the nicotine. So if you're, and then of course they introduce vaping, and vaping like is, you know, it gives you that same impact as a cigarette, but it's all chemicals. And, you know, and so that's just like eradicated the nicotine. So they've introduced it to the younger generation as not smoking nicotine, as if nicotine's the evil problem here. Just smoke all these chemical concoction we put out. But fascinating. So basically, we'll see a push to have nicotine levels in tobacco reduce. And, you know, of course, forever here in Australia, tobacco has been illegal to grow. Like, what the fuck is that? It's like a plant. So it is illegal to grow tobacco. Australia used to have one of the biggest tobacco industries in the world. You know, but if we're to smoke organic tobacco here in Australia, we have to buy it from America. I mean, that's so dumb and crazy. Yeah, but it's illegal. So there's something about tobacco and of course weed that they've always acknowledged. But, you know, to see it like linked to this conversation is really fascinating. Really fascinating. And snake bites.
Yeah, man, they've been going hard on tobacco since the 80s, right? 40 years, whatever, you know, all the packets, you know, with the lungs on them and all these half dead people, oh, don't smoke, oh, this. But has anyone ever looked into the statistics? Like, we're 40 years into this, the non-smoking, like what's happened? You know, are people still dropping dead of you know, all these diseases that they say smoking causes? Because we know that It's not the smoking, right? You go in and they're like, oh, you got cancer. Here's the treatment, but the treatment is what gives you the cancer. I mean,
I
that's
mean,
pretty
look at
clear at
that.
the moment.
Look, this
What have you
is
got, a lung?
An Australian tobacco. That's what you get here in Australia. I mean, talk
That's it. Oh,
about
that's
like,
inside someone's guts. I've got an
hello,
eyeball.
this is
I've got
this. I mean, have you ever seen this? Ever seen? Oh, you've got an eyeball. Fuck is it? Like, I mean, seriously, you know,
and so I was just going to say, it also puts that into your mind, right? So when you're smoking them, subconsciously, you're like, oh my God, is it going to give me cancer? Am I going to lose my
yeah, I'm
eyeballs?
killing myself. That's
Yeah.
right. It's a faux pas. It's not cool. And then of course they've banned smoking everywhere. You can't smoke. You can't
No.
smoke anywhere. So like
Remember when
again,
we got harassed at the
I
markets?
know we're at friggin'
We're
Bangalore
like walking along
markets.
having a cigarette. This guy's like, do you really do that here, man? What are you
I
doing?
know, I know.
I sent him a
We were
dead out
literally
of
at
the
the most
room.
hippie market ever and walking around all open air and we got harassed for smoking a cigarette. Like, and that of course turned us both off the market. We were like, what is this place? Get us out of here. This is not our people.
Nah, man. And that, idiot who was, trying to tell us off would have thought that he was doing the right thing. Smoking's bad. How dare you? I mean, we were actually walking around giving people the antidote. What's an antidote? Like, but this
That's
is how
funny.
flipped things are, right? It's
Yeah.
so flipped.
And
And,
you
and
know
I
what?
mean, just with COVID as well, just as a side point, I was listening to Roseanne, Roseanne Barr, she's got a
Mm,
podcast.
mm.
She's still going. And she was saying that because she's been a smoker forever, right? And her family were like, oh, the Rona, right? Oh, it's for your lung, it's a lung thing, so you need to stop. You need to give up smoking, right? Or else you're going to make yourself more susceptible. So she did, and she got it. She
Yeah.
caught it. She said the only time she caught it was when she'd given up smoking. She said she
Yeah.
took up smoking again, never got sick again. So it's just so inverted. And of course, we're not saying go out there and take up smoking if you don't smoke. You can get Nicorette, you can get patches, you can even get toothpicks now, that you chew on the toothpick and it's got nicotine in it. So there's many options, but maybe stock up because this stuff is going to start disappearing.
Yeah, just like the hydrochloroquine, it's just gonna start disappearing. I mean, it's a mind-blowing, like hilarious outcome on that level. And obviously we've spent our lifetime like, being told it's gonna kill us. Well, as we know, if they're saying that, then definitely consume it. Like, I mean, and then that leads into the quirky bullshit that's Have you been following this like 1 cent hamburgers in America storyline? Have you been following that?
No.
Oh, this is so fucking funny. So this is and it's so random, right? But Wendy's and McDonald's in America have released like this 1 cent burger, right? Basically. And and it's the reason people are like looking at it from the conspiracy channels is because The Simpsons, of course, released 8 years ago, of course, in the fucking what I mean, if ever there was like quantum technology generating a show, it's The Simpsons.
Yeah.
How bizarre. But anyway, yeah, like so The Simpsons, so the burger place on The Simpsons released this 1 cent burger and then everyone turned into zombies, right? So there's like all these people going, what the fuck is in these burgers? Like is this the theorizing is around, are these burgers experimental non-meat burgers? Like, are they experimental this like
Hot
industrial
burgers,
printed
yeah.
meat with their DNA, like printed DNA? Is it human remains? Is there something in the burgers? Basically they're suggesting it's an experiment on the
Yeah, well,
population to
it
release
sounds
these.
like it. 1 cent burger, especially with what's going on in America and the cost of living, and there's so
Yeah.
many people can't afford food and that they'd be like, oh my God, I'm going out and getting 10 burgers for
Yeah.
10 cents and we all get fed. But, we know, right? If this is the big corporations and all the government promoting this, it's bad.
Yeah. I mean,
It's,
Wendy's and McDonald's. And there was something else, something about it being squared as well. The McDonald's one was a square burger. And in the Simpsons it talked about burgers squared. So anyway, it was just like, it's an interesting random little thing, but you know, over at and you know, who'd be interested to see if it like happens here. But yeah, I mean, why wouldn't they like make the cost of living so expensive that, you know, then they offer the solution in these sorts of ideas and promotions that were full of things that were completely experimental, and not that they aren't already, but like
Yeah,
next level maybe experimental. So that's just some weird little side note I've been watching. That's the side thing.
problem,
And then
reaction,
of course
solution. It's always the same.
we've got the whole bullshit with Maui going on at the moment. I just can't, my heart fucking breaks for those people,
That's
man. I'm
just
like a
like,
fucking, I hate watching this sort of stuff, you know?
it's shocking, man. Like literally, they're what are we, 5, maybe 6 weeks into this, and they still haven't received any help.
No.
Like they're relying on themselves and the fellow islands bringing stuff into them still.
Yeah.
You know, they're still under attack. I saw a video. I don't know how real it was, but they were saying that they're starting to build like FEMA type camps there, in Maui, right? You know, to help, right, and house all the people who don't have houses. Yeah, right. And then they'll suddenly won't won't be allowed out.
So many
It's
weird
just
things.
shocking, man. And now they're trying to get it out of the news cycle so everyone forgets about it. But like,
I mean,
it's just,
the Maui's like fucking traumatic because you're watching microwave, like you're watching a microwave like energy weapon basically, like
yep,
they're, and you know, obviously the big things that have come out of Maui is the color blue. Anything that was colored blue didn't get burnt, and that's a result of a certain like energy laser frequency
spectrum of
band
laser, yep.
that doesn't affect blue things. We've got all the missing children. We've got people like trees that didn't burn down. You know, when you use these energy weapons, basically it melts the things that it touches, but all organic matter. I guess like think about it like a microwave. Like if you put metal
Hmm.
into a microwave, it explodes, right? And sparks off. But if you put like, you know, cauliflower into the microwave, it just warms up. It heats up and gets all hot. So, you know, you saw these people in Maui like literally running into the water because they felt like they were boiling from the inside. Well, that was a result of them being close to this energy weapon, this microwave technology. So to see it play out, I mean, my hearts go out for all those, for everyone affected there. It's just fucked up to the max, man. Like, I just can't, and you know, like to see it from our level of understanding it and seeing through it, it's just, it's traumatic shit. You know, it's hard not to watch this and, you know, be a little bit vulnerable in understanding like how many weapons of, you know, terror they can use against the human race at any
Hmm.
point and any place. And of
And
course, all the celebrities that live there, all the celebrities that live there, there's so many, have they painted their houses blue.
yep.
And everyone
And
thought it was some like weird celebrity trend.
yeah, yeah. And none of those properties got attacked, right? None of them got burnt. You know, we saw Oprah and The Rock come out, and Oprah's got, what is it, 1,800 acres or something, but she's not letting anyone come onto her land. She's not built, you know, she's not putting up like accommodation for them to move into. She's just like, hey, I've got $2.5 billion, so why don't you guys put some money in to help these people?
I
But I
mean,
mean, the main thing is that the government they just ignore it. They just like don't care, not look. And 6 weeks into it, there's people. I mean, I like we don't even know what's going on there, where the food's coming from, where you know there's people still with children and stuff, you know. But on top of that, you know, there's the numbers are saying there's 2,000 missing children still. No answer on that. That no one will touch it. They just are ignoring it, and now they're trying to put in all these other news stories so that people forget about Maui, right?
I
And
know, like these
they're
missing school
happy to just let them
buses,
all rot. Yeah.
missing school buses. So
Missing school bus.
like
Yeah,
this,
yeah, yeah, I saw that.
I mean, these are like families like us, you know? Like these are families like us, and suddenly their children are missing and unaccounted for. Like, I mean, that is just so
And
traumatic.
no
I
one wants to help them. Like, what do they do? Where do they go? Like, they're making as much noise as they can, and they're just being ignored. Like, and more than that, like they're not even I saw a clip, they were arresting people because they were setting up like little humpies on the beach to live in because they
Mm,
had no house. So the
mm,
police went
mm,
in and
mm,
arrested them and threw
mm.
them in jail.
Yeah.
People are going out and trying to help people, and FEMA are coming in and saying no. Like people are shipping in food and water and stuff from other islands, and again, the police and FEMA are stopping them. This is genocide. It's. I mean, it's just it's so in your face. It's just so blatant. I mean, I think they did overstep the mark. I think it's woken a lot of people up, but it's just so tragic. Like what had to happen, right, for people to actually see what these people are, like what their morals are, and or their lack of, right? What they're this like it's this is an invasion. I've been saying this for years. Like we see all these movies and like, oh, do you think the aliens are coming? And I'm like, dude, you don't understand we've already been invaded,
Yeah.
then
Yep.
wake up, man. What are you doing?
And
It's already
silently,
happened.
yep, silently, without a war, without a fight, those wars, they were all designed, they weren't to do with invasion. They were
No,
to do with
no.
destruction and,
Yes.
resetting the realm and like removing artifacts and certain things to alter history. That's essentially what the wars were. They were history alters. But the real war has been done cohertly, quietly and like integrated into governments and politics, like integrated slowly through, like, and that's been happening forever. We have totally already gone through that invasion. So I mean, shit, man,
Yep.
what, this is a dire beginning to our day. What is it, 7:47, and we've just like listed all
We're
these
talking
weird and
about
terrible things that happen. But wow, man. So, like, is there anything positive to report on the world's scale out there in the world news?
well, there
Anything?
is positive stuff. I mean, we're going to talk to someone today which we'll be reporting on, who's apparently got some amazing thing that she's discovered to do with maths and colors
Yeah,
and
she's a
sacred
mathematician.
geometry and all this
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So that'll be
I mean,
very interesting.
I guess Campbell, like it's, like, okay, so we're talking about this Maui fires. So, what the fires have done for a lot of people, I think, is really understand how color and frequency is so fundamental to how all of this works. And as far as weapons against us go, like it's really important for us to get our heads around how our energy works, how that relates to sound, to color, to light.
Yep.
Like let's talk about light for a second. And like I guess through the side, the what would be like the result for us of witnessing, being forced, because it's a bit torturous to be down here and being forced to witness all of this playing out, all of this time, all of our lifetimes, right? It's a bit shite like that, but to understand that each time we witness something, we are developing our understanding and our sovereignty further. So even the conversation we just had about nicotine, like that is something that, like, who would have known? In all my years here in Australia, in all of my years living out here in the bush and on farmland, no one has ever, ever told me to put a nicotine patch on a snake bite. Like that has never been part of my understanding before. So, I mean, all of these things are like, you can see our knowledge increasing as a
Mm.
result of all of this, all these terrible crimes against humanity. You can see our understanding, like it's like we can't tear the blinders off without it almost, like there's been huge amounts of
Well,
books talking about energy for my whole lifetime, but like to see it actually play out with the color blue and fire and laser, like that just homes it in, doesn't it? It's like a true life experience of understanding how this works.
mm. Yeah, well, clearly, like we needed this, right? We've, like you said, we've had the books and the information out for decades, but nothing happened. Nothing changed. People just sort of thought, I'm so spiritual, blah, 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 blah. But I mean, the color thing's interesting, isn't it? Obviously we have stained glass windows in cathedrals, but it makes me think of all these gemstones, right? Like I've always wondered, like, how can we have these colored, like rubies are red, emeralds are green, sapphires are blue, like they're these
Yeah.
prime colors,
Yep.
right? And obviously the bluer a sapphire, then the more valuable it is.
Yep.
That's a spectrum. And what
Yep.
did people, kings and queens used to wear them on their third eye, right? Part
Yep.
of their crown or near their heart, like hanging down, like all this jewelry, right? It's not just for adornment. It was some kind of tech. And now it's just been reversed again, right? Because it looks like we used to use this kind of stuff, you know, to make ourselves healthier, right, and stronger. And now it's being used to kill us.
Well, yeah, I
Just to
mean,
do it
color, like
again.
one thing you'll say about our exploration of the old realm is it was fucking full of color, like the fashion, the decor, the buildings, the internals, the furniture, like the entire thing was rich, dripping, rich with color, you know. And then you like look at today, you know, thanks to like things like Mac and Apple, like everything's been turned white. Everything's been stripped of color. Like we're literally looking at an AI technological realm, which is like black and white, you know. And then that takes us back to the whole what do the gin look like and the clown story, which we did at the Melbourne show.
Yeah,
You know,
man.
they were like
Like
basically
eggs.
patterns of black and white, and all
Yeah.
the way through these tribes, through the realm who worship this
Which,
clown-like figure, which was always they would paint themselves black and white. And that literally was a sign of the jinn, you know, the demonic interference. So it's interesting with color how far removed we've come from it. And even last podcast, you were mentioning that, you know, our eyesight really starts to die at the age of like, you know, once you hit your 40s, because we're not looking at enough color. We're literally in these white buildings, in these white homes, in these white bedrooms, in these white lounges, these white computers with this white light blasting out of us, you know, like these white LEDs, like everything's just like being whitified. You go to the city, it's like white buildings, you know, all sorts of shades of white buildings. Like you
yeah.
go into these rich, you know, lobbies that is dripping in white. You know, this color spectrum has quietly and systematically been removed from our sight.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, for sure. And black and white is the polarity, right?
Yep.
But we know it's not, and they love to teach this, right? Everything's polarity. There's only positive and negative, which is crap, by the way, guys. What there is a spectrum of color. But
Yep.
they're just going to say no. All there is black or white. But no, there's a spectrum of color. And I was talking to someone last week, and she was saying, like, go out in nature. How much white do you see in nature? Not much. It's probably the least, you know, the least seen color in nature.
Yep.
Right. But now you walk into a city, it's all white, man. White inside, white paint, white cars, white shirts,
Oh,
right?
white
All
fucking
this white
cars.
cars, man. Who would buy a white car?
What? I mean, how much cooler were the 50s and, you know, like with their cars?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bugger, the cars. That's a shame. I miss the hot pinks and baby blue cars and the yellow
Yeah,
cars. Like
man.
they were everywhere. The orange cars.
Yeah,
Everyone
orange,
had an
man.
orange
Burnt
car at some
orange.
point. Yep.
Yeah, man. All that kind of stuff. It's yeah, it's just this big thing. They just keep inverting and inverting, and they don't have. We know they can't imagine anything new. They can't create anything. They're just
Yeah.
replaying the same old
Yeah.
oh play, play, and people are still falling for it, man. Like, but but I mean, I also think that we're clearly being shown what they want us to see. That there's clearly a lot more waking up going on around the realm than what we know of.
Yeah.
We just don't get shown it, right? They're not
Yeah.
showing us any of this stuff that's going on.
Nah.
Even Twitter, right? With our hero Elon, who's here to save the race. Didn't you know, Kelly? He's here to save us. And he's cutting all these clips out of Twitter. You can't even Twitter's completely censored. Like, so if you still think Elon's your man and he's here to save you, I'd rethink that.
Me and Elon. Jeez. I tell
Fucking
you what, you know,
Elon.
like, I mean, you know, probably about once a month, I just Google news headlines just to like see, because, you know, we don't get any context out here at all. Like, don't even think about it. No one I know has radio or newspapers or TV anymore. Like, it's just like a non thing, right?
Push
Um,
telegraph, man.
And it's so, yeah, like, so to actually sort of watch what's going on I mean, and then there was the massive floods in Libya. Like, that was pretty significant event. That like wiped out, like, you know, so many people
Yep.
died there. Like, massive event sat out of fucking nowhere in Libya.
Yep. Yeah,
I
man,
mean,
that was huge. And again, we don't get to see it. We don't get shown it. And if we do, it'll just be, Libya bad, right?
I mean,
You
it's
know,
a,
Colonel Gaddafi, that whole thing about Colonel Gaddafi, that was a big scam, man. None of that was true. And then they got everyone to believe their story, and then it was okay for them to go and kill him. And everyone
yeah,
went, yeah, you got rid of a dictator.
yeah,
But
yeah,
without realizing that the people who killed him were the dictators, right?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I know. And like, the news is just the same as Google Earth, like it homes you in on a tiny little thing, I mean, I was talking with our little rat burglar the other night, and we were talking about like it's so interesting and strange. This is so completely off the topic, but here we go. So interesting and strange that every child in the realm across the world, no matter the culture, basically feels like at some point there's something that is under their bed that's going to get them. Like that
yeah,
there is
yeah.
something under their bed. And I remember growing up with exactly the same. Like I would always jump into bed and I would like tuck in my hands and my feet and I'd get my teddy bear. Everything would have to be on the bed as if the bed, it being on the bed itself was the secure, like raft, but
Safety
that
raft.
at
Yeah.
any given moment things under the bed could get me. And I just was it was just I wanted to bring it up only, and it's not relevant to what we were talking about, so sorry, detour everyone, but it was just fascinating because it reminded me again, like, what is this energy where all these innocent children, I mean, like, because when I was growing up and went through all of that, like everyone else did, I didn't have movies and TV. We didn't have television, and we didn't have like this, like Hollywood. We didn't have any pre-programming around that topic. There was nothing in my life that had any horrific, nightmarish like connotations. Very different from today. So, but like, how did our generation still have that natural, organic fear about being wary of shadow beings or being wary about things under your bed? Like, it's just like this natural energy that's just
Sleeping in
like
the dark.
always been there,
Yeah.
always been there. And I just thought that was really interesting to think about that for a second today, because I was like, what was that? Was that just like the foundational understanding that all children that got reintroduced into this realm and then generationally forward just like knew that there was at the night there was potential danger in their bedrooms? Like, did you go through
Yeah.
that as a kid?
Yeah, oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I was petrified of the dark until I was like 6 or 7. And then I decided to wait the night and see if anything happened, because I went, nothing ever happens. And so and then so I did it consciously, and then it cured it all. I went, oh, there was nothing there. And so now I'm just, since then I haven't been, but yeah, it's an inbuilt thing, right? And like you say, we don't necessarily get all this programming of, oh my God, there's monsters under the bed. It's definitely out there, but it's not being
Well, it
hammered
is
in. So
today,
how come
but
everyone
not back
gets the
then.
same thing? Yeah,
Yes.
not all I could think of was like bed knobs and broomsticks, right, when they fly on their beds. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, maybe the the monster in the cupboard, in the wardrobe, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Yep.
it wasn't a put out thing, but yeah, everyone had the same fear. Like,
Yep.
all children are scared of the dark, pretty
Yep.
much, right?
And this is across all cultures. It's not a
Hmm.
Western phenomenon. Like, it's the weirdest fucking thing. It's
The
just the
dark.
weirdest fucking thing. Like when we talk about frequency and we talk about programming, and, it feels like it's either like generational. So the trauma's been passed down generationally, like within our DNA, or it's something that is in us when we're born. Like it is there. It's there in us. It's like this acknowledgement that there's something to be scared of in the dark.
Yeah. The dark, man. Come and join the dark side. That's the
It's
dark.
just
The
it's
dark
just
side.
it's just an interesting phenomenon. And like,
Mm.
nothing, well, I mean, I don't know if anything doesn't happen or does happen. I had some trippy events when I was like telling Charlie about it the other day. I had 3 trippy events. Do you want to hear my three trippy events when I was growing up?
Sure. Tell us.
I'm sure that I've already said this with the Aussie Bird podcast, but yeah, like I remember I was probably about 3 years old. We were living, because I was a hotel child. We were living above our bedroom, above one of our hotels, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and all of this happened simultaneously. There was a crack of a light of thunder. It woke me up. In that moment, the window in our bedroom opened up, which was like on a landing that would like walk over to the hotel. Opened up. There was this like flash of light, and there was this man in black just standing there with a hat on, like a top hat on, just staring at me. And and he was staring at me. And in that exact moment where I freaked out,
Jeez.
remembering him staring at me, the mirror in our bedroom crashed and smashed everywhere. So a hugely pivotal, polarized event for a 3-year-old. You know,
Oh,
I got the hit of the sensory storm, the cold air, I got the lightning and the thunder, and then the stranger, and then the smashing of the mirror. So I remember it really well, right? But there was this man in black. Now, the trippy thing is 3 years later, new house, we'd moved into a new house, and basically the same thing happened. I got woken up to a noise, lightning, man in black outside of my bedroom window staring at me. You know, so like that happened twice in my memory. And then in the same house around that same time, I remember my bedroom faced the hallway, and on the wall, outside my bedroom on the upper side of the wall of the hallway, there was like an air vent, you know, like those old school 80s sort of, where they're
yeah, yeah.
like, I don't know if they were, I don't know what they were, if they were like an aircon system, I don't know, but there was this air vent. And I literally woke up and watched these black, like tentacle, kind of
Whoa.
like thick smoke tentacles coming out of this vent and filling up the walls of the hallway, right? And I screamed so bad. I screamed, and mum and dad came running down the hallway, and I'm just pointing at this wall, and they of course can't see anything. They just like they just, to them it's just a wall. So was that delusions of a 6-year-old, you know, asleep? Was I just sleep dreaming, wake dreaming? But those three events sort of lined up in around the same timeline. So I don't know what all that means, but there were certainly things that like, you know, we put like kids' nightmares and night terrors down to, you know, like delusions and illusions and you know,
Yeah.
things that aren't real. But man, like
Yeah,
I definitely remember some
well,
some trippy.
we get it programmed out of us so that we literally can't see it. So the kids aren't programmed; they're seeing what's going on, and we're like literally, like the program when we go through in school and all, you know, in life and like literally, it will
Yeah,
block us from seeing things. Like it
yeah,
literally changes the world that we see. Like we
yeah,
can't, because you can only see what you believe it can be real, right?
yeah.
And so this is what they do. They slowly program us. Oh, that's silly. No, that's make believe. That's blah blah blah. And in the end, when we finally get to adulthood, we can't see anything that's real, right? We see this reality, whatever that is, right? It's not real.
Well,
So
anyway,
it's
it's a
crazy.
it's a trippy little side note conversation that I had this week. Just thought I'd mention as we're talking about the nightmares that are
Men
going
in Black,
on the
man.
realm right now.
Yeah, Men in Black. You know, I've had all the movies.
I know.
And you see it, you know, everyone's always talking about the Men in Black, right? They're always
I
Men in
know.
Black.
Yeah, so
And
as I grew up,
it's
and then these movies started to appear, and I started to watch them, and then I started to deep dive into the whole all these things that we go into, and understood that Men in Black were a real thing, and that, you know, these like these the preying on young people's nightmares are a real thing, and like the you
well,
know the
Monsters
this
Inc. Remember that one?
yep, that's right. Like watching all of those, and I was like, wow, you know, these little experiences that, you know, I put down to, you know, childhood nightmares, like played out in my life, or I'm watching them play out in these cartoons now, you know. Anyway, it's just an interesting side
It's
note
happening, man.
that we're like
It is.
really living this, you know, mirrored existence, this mirrored
Mm.
realm, you know, Stranger Things for sure. Like
Yeah.
that's it's this mirrored inverted realm. Like, I don't know, guys, just
Mm.
don't forget to have fun. Like, for fuck's sake, because, you know, we did decide to be here. This is fully on us, our responsibility. We decided to come down, bring our light to the darkness. We decided to do this. And thus we're living out this really bizarre experience and
Mm.
watching, you know, and in half of your mind, you kind of shut down. You become emotional to these events. Like what's happening in Maui is it's like, you know, if you really sat down and really sat into that and really felt it and really, you know, put your consciousness on it, it's traumatic. It's really traumatic and very emotional. But, you know, our brains is just like, oh my God, that's another thing, just another thing, just another thing, just another thing, you know? And then you sit here on your little farms and get woken up by your roosters, and you watch these little baby chickens being born, and you're just like, wow, what a paradox of a realm that we exist in. Then we go and see the elders, and they're alive with, you know, magic right now, alive with magic and destiny right now. And that's playing out, you know, and then you got this like amazing awakening humanity that's like becoming totally conscious. We're the wild card. We don't know, no one knows what we're capable of. No one knows what's going to happen. Then you've still got all these monoliths that were placed around the realm, 1800 to be exact, that are just
Yeah.
sitting there, ignored and like forgotten about. You know, you've got these activation points happening. You've got this whole shift in energy going on right now. It's the quickening is upon us, you know, and
Yeah.
of course, as we keep saying, the energy work now is really, really becoming very, very powerful. And anyone who's doing energy work will testify they're getting really good, solid, amazing results they haven't got before. And like all of this is happening in this giant melting pot all at once, you know, like how, but
That's
cheers.
crazy, man. Yeah, man. Like I think we've just got to understand there's like there's no what is it cause and effect. Like all there is potential. You know, they want us to believe that that's all cause and effect and all this, but all that does is shut down what we can see. Like it's
Yep.
this is the time. It's not the time to be pointing your finger and going that person's wrong and that person's a shill and how dare they do. All you're going to do is block yourself from seeing what's actually going on. You're going to make yourself a lot more vulnerable to all these dark energies that are trying to get into us, right? That are trying to get some kind of control over us. So if you want to spend your time pointing, and there's so much of this going on, oh, they're a shill, this is bad. Look, everything just is. If you expect everyone to know exactly what you know, then you're insane, right? No one's going to see the world the way you see it. Exactly. So it's all just information. So stop. That'd be my thing. Stop pointing the finger and stop going, that's wrong, that's right, because you don't know. But just going, wow, that's interesting. And then let more information build on it. And build a perspective
Well, I
that's
mean,
yours. Don't
it's
be
difficult,
told.
Campbell. It's difficult not to polarize. Like what you're saying is
It
don't
is.
polarize.
It
That's what you're
is.
saying. Don't
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
judge, you know,
it is.
yeah, I mean, and it's true, like no loss without a gain. Like you know, like don't polarize to the point where you've like fallen into a new belief system, you know. Like for everything that's happening, you know, there is benefit and there is
Mm,
loss. And we
yeah,
are simultaneously going through those things both at the same time right now in almost every aspect of
yeah.
reality, that that we're in a very polarizing yo-yo dance, you know, and like trying to stay like walking in the middle, like trying to stay that middle pathway. um you know, it's kind of a cool dance. It's kind of, I mean, you know, would you like honestly at this point, Campbell, would you choose to be here, not to be here? Would you want to miss
No,
it?
well, no. I mean, it's yeah, man. It's a once in a I don't know epoch event, right? Like we get to witness all this, but only if we choose to, right? Only if we choose to be present. Like if we choose to buy into the fear and to believe other people's point of view and all, then we're
Yeah.
not gonna. We're just a pawn in the game, right? We're just basically working for these people who are trying to take over,
Yeah.
right? The invaders. But if we're open and open minded and keep our humanness and our hearts and everything and just observe, then I think there's a lot to learn, a lot we can grow through and as we do this, we're learning more and we're putting up with less.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's exposing these people for who they are. And I think at this point, they can't, they can't stop this either, right? Everything they try and do seems to be going bad for
Yeah.
them, which is awesome. I think it's funny but yeah, it's just keep your perspective. Don't get polarized on things. Don't put, thoughts in charge of you. Don't charge things as this is the truth 100% because then you're stuffed. You'll never see a different perspective. And there is no absolute ultimate truth. So it's not true anyway. And you're just going to put yourself in a position where you can't see any options. You can't see anything. And that's where they want everyone. Like, that's fear. That locks us down. That's like, oh my God, I can't do anything. Poor little me. That's what they want. So don't let them, this is my biggest thing is I'm not going to let people like that control me and take me. No way, man. No.
Right. Well, so next week I'm going to India. And so we're going to take
Yeah.
Tartaria Australia Live to
Lovely.
India. This is going to be an interesting, you know, get back to some of our roots, Campbell, because we haven't done any we haven't done any like
Tartaria is in the
I
name.
know. But yeah, fascinating because like there's not much in context of India when it comes to the old realm, as in there's not much content out there. So it'll be really interesting to take you through it. So are we going to attempt to do some live shows?
Yeah, man.
Yes, yes. All right,
Yeah.
excellent. Because it'll be
Yep. Let's
really
do that.
super cool to
Yeah.
like do this from another continent. And so fun for everyone to join us in the trip to India. Campbell was meant to be coming. Yes, he was,
So
but
no,
he didn't make it.
not meant to be.
And then of course into the China, into the China, into
The
the China.
China.
The China visa has arrived. So
Oh,
we are doing the China, whatever that means. Into now that is like has completely been underexplored through the Tartarian realms. Holy shit.
mm.
So I'm going to be documenting all of that for some excellent podcasts. So I'll be there talking live, and then Campbell, you get to do all the hard work doing all the research.
We'll put it all together. Yeah, yeah. And we may have to wait for that because we don't want Kelly like transferring files out of China because we know what China are like, right? But don't we want to get busted? But we'll get all the footage, and when you get back, we'll get it all up. But India, we can definitely stream from. We can do some lives. We can do a lot of videos. So that will be coming
That's
up, and
fucking cool, man.
then
Yeah.
next. So
Then we
yeah,
go to Bosnia, aren't we,
we're going
Campbell?
to Bosnia.
We'll talk about that
We
later.
are.
That's
Yeah,
right.
man. Who's going to join us in Bosnia?
we're
Ooh,
we're
biggest
at the
pyramid in the world.
we're at the new phase of Tartaria Australia where we just like, you know what, like let's now get out of this computer and start to go on some Indiana Jones adventures. Let's go and see this with our own eyes. Let's get in there, So there's this definitely 2024 is going to be about a shitload of excellent, real physical adventures off the farm and into the
Hmm.
realm. So
Yep.
yeah.
And when you're trying to lock us down and tell us we can't travel, it's time to start traveling, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's going to be so many amazing opportunities for you to come with us. So awesome.
Yeah.
Because what's in
So
Bosnia?
yeah,
What's
yeah,
in
yeah.
Bosnia?
Stay
What's
tuned.
in Bosnia, Campbell?
Bosnia, the
Why?
largest pyramid, man. And yeah, but if we're going to Bosnia, we're going to hang out in Tartaria a bit, see some star forts, old world cities, amazing stuff. But that's all we're giving you for the moment, guys. So you're going to stay tuned.
I
That
mean, the
will be
largest
coming up
pyramid.
hopefully in the next week or so. We'll do the big launch.
The
The
largest
Bosnian
pyramid.
pyramid, man,
The
with
largest
Sam,
pyramid.
with Dr.
The
Sam
largest.
Osmanovic, who's the world's leading expert on pyramids.
Yeah, why the fuck not?
It's
Indiana Jones all the way, man. Like the largest pyramid in the realm. Like, why wouldn't we go to the largest pyramid in the round right now? Why would we do that? Of course we do that. That just like makes total sense. That is an
yes,
excellent decision to make.
keep it.
Go to the largest pyramid in the
Yes,
world
we activate it.
and see what happens.
Yep.
Because, like we
It's
have
gonna
to
be
sit here and watch everyone else. Like and see how they dictate the world. Like we're watching Maui and we're watching them do all the horrible shit. Like, but like what do you guys want to do? What do you want to do? Like, there's some amazing adventures to have out there. Jordan, hello.
yeah.
Like I want to see Jordan. Like
Oh
there's
yeah, and Petra.
so
Yep.
many cool
Yeah.
things on
Time to
this
get out from
realm.
behind the screen, from behind the keyboard, and get out there into the realm and start seeing and experiencing and touching and let's really start to work this out. So that's where we're going in the next year. We hope some of you will be coming with us, right? But
Yeah,
this is it.
because
We got to start, roaming the realm again.
Campbell, like ultimately, at the end of the day, we have all decided at some point soon enough in this lifetime, there is going to be an event. And that event's going to be a reset or an energy event or there's going to be an event that's going to change everything, right? And that is something that we're probably all in agreement with, whatever that, we don't know what, but whatever that is, we're at that moment. So like now is the time for me. It's just like, okay, wherever we end up after that event, wherever we end up being, I want to be able to tell the story of Earth. I want to be able to tell I want to be able to document and observe this realm as it currently is before this next reset. And I want to be able to speak on it. I want to be able to teach it. I want to be able to share it. I want to be able to, I want to be able to speak with expertise,
Yeah.
with my own wisdom. And to do that, you have to take your knowledge and turn it into wisdom. And you can only do that when you actually have a direct real life experience. I mean, we can sit here and
Yeah.
watch a million YouTubes and go through a million photos and blah, 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 blah. But until we actually have a direct physical experience, we can't own that shit as wisdom.
No,
So,
it's information. We've got to get out
yeah.
and first-hand information. So that is what's happening, man. We're going to be getting around and checking all this stuff out. So stay tuned. It will be released very soon. It's sort of, it's taken a while to get everything done. We were hoping to have it out a few weeks ago, but hey, it'll be done when it's done. So yeah,
Well,
man.
we do like our live events, but this time let's just go to the largest pyramid in the world.
Yeah, let's go to Tartaria.
Excellent.
Man, let's have a big event that lasts for weeks, man.
That's right. That's right. All right, dudes. Well, Campbell's got another live coming. I can feel his phone starting to ring and ring and ring. And it's so early still. There's still so much daylight. Amazing. All right. Well, look, I don't know if that was a cheery update or I don't know what that was. Was that of interest? Anyway.
Interesting information.
7
Let us know
a.m. musings.
below.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, you guys have an amazing week. And we'll speak to you soon on Tartaria, Australia.
Ooh, stay awesome.
Bye, guys.